Welcome to Monday Night Math. I'm your host, Greg Douglas, reporting live from, let me get out of the way so you can see through me a little better. We're at the Superdome, New Orleans Saints. We're going to be doing some conversing, talking to Brees, the legend, the icon, NFL quarterback extraordinaire. But first, a word from our sponsors. You know, if you're like me, folks, we're saving a lot of money not eating out so much. But I don't know about you. I'm doing more dishes than I've ever done before. And being that I'm in southern Texas, we're getting our share of tacos. Why, today we had breakfast tacos. We had tacos for lunch. Actually, macaroni, cheese, and tacos. It's a good mixture. And for dessert, of course, Choco Tacos. Choco Tacos. Delicious. Eat 'em up, yum. All right, so we're going to be doing some math today. Quarterbacks have to be brilliant to understand everything that goes on, all the play calling at the line and the secondary, blitzes, hot routes, you name it. It's a fast-moving game. And Drew Brees is one that you can often see on the sidelines studying intently the coverages and everything that happen. So we're going to use his math mind to help us do some area problems. We're going to look at the area of some figures. That's right, Bob. Squares, rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. Let's get going. Ding, 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 ding. All right, as we're going to screen share real quick, just hearts out, prayers and blessings. Hang in there, New Orleans. Since Drew Brees is the subject of this video, besides the math. Where's my mouse? There we go. Mr. Douglas, I can't see. Let's zoom in a wee bit. All right, there we go. Drew Brees deserves everything wonderful he's received, and he's a giver. He's helped out tremendously the first time New Orleans got hit huge with Katrina, and now during this, he's also been out there with giving back to the community to help people through these times. And I know he's done thousands upon thousands of wonderful things to help people out that never got any press or attention because that's not what he does it for. Okay, he's an incredible human being. Texas is proud of you, Drew. New Orleans is proud of you. The NFL is proud of you, and you're also an incredible Christian man. Thank you for everything you're doing. All right. So it takes a lot of determination and perseverance to get to the top, such as Mr. Drufus. And I will tell you, I got to enjoy my alma mater, Purdue University. That's where he went to college. That's where I first fell in love with him. Purdue had pretty much struggled and sucked for a long period of time, most of my life. We had some highlights here and there. Okay. Some good players that went on to the NFL here and there, okay? But Joe Tiller, coach of Wyoming, came into Purdue. He was a former Purdue player, and he brought what was called basketball on grass because Purdue University had been trying to play smash mouth with the big boys, Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, etc., and it just was too much. We didn't have the personnel. Purdue wasn't a big draw for the blue-chip football players. And somehow Drew got slipped out of Texas compared to all the incredible prospects in Texas and wherever else in the United States. Drew is a little bit shorter than average, but man, thank you, Texas, for missing that one. We were glad to have him. And he went to San Diego Chargers, went through what would have been possibly a career-ending injury or just put you on the sidelines and the bench before you retire kind of injury. But as the team wasn't going to support him as a starter, and he parted ways amicably, moved on. Boom, Super Bowl champs, MVP, breaking records, yo. Thank you. Salute you, Drew. All right, so we're going to do some math. Drew's going to be over there. I'll switch pictures of him here and there and say little comments and stories or recollections. Let's get my writing utensil. I should have done that this whole time. Instead of Where's Waldo, I'm playing a game called Where's the Mouse because it's lagging. All right, we're going to do text box again. That was much quicker and better. When we do area of figures, okay, if it's a square, rectangle, or parallelogram, okay, that's really what you're looking at right right down there, okay? That's a rectangle that I always jokingly say Mr. Douglas sat on or stood on and squished. It got bent a little to the side, okay? But if you straighten it, it's still the same rectangle. It still has the same amount of area inside of it. That's what area is, okay? And you know, with a square and a rectangle, y'all learned in elementary, it's length times width, okay? But when we come to 6th grade and 7th grade and on, we now ask y'all to do it as base times height, okay, B times H. And that comes in handy both here on parallelograms, also on triangles and other situations. So that's why we did that, okay? So here, base times height would be 3 times 3, okay? So that means it would be 9 is going to be my answer. The only slow, frustrating part is going to be going back and forth with the laggy mouse to click on mouse and text box again. So I'm going to have 3 times 3 is 9 square yards. And just one other reminder, it's square yards, which means yards with the little 2 right here. Yards to the 2nd power yards squared, because it's a 2-dimensional shape. It's got directional height and directional width, okay, or base. When we have a 3D figure, if you could imagine drawing these lines and making it have depth, okay, and then connect the shape around on the other side. If it was a 3-dimensional shape, then it would be yards to the 3rd power, or we have called yards cubed, okay? All right, let's move on. That's just review. Super duper. Another cool feature, guys. I noticed I was opening tons of windows of IXL at all the different levels because I had internet connectivity issues. Those first few days after spring break of everybody being at home on internet, I think everybody was overwhelmed. But now the connectivity issue doesn't seem to be a problem. I think some of the more of the lagginess was caused by having that many windows open. So now I'm able to just go jump levels. Okay, so here's the next one. Text box. Text box. All right. So here, I like to always put the most digits on top. So 14.8, or how do you say that mathematically speaking? 14 and 8/10, because it's in the 10th spot. I hate that. THS should not be allowed to be together. Sorry, I spit on you. Okay. All right, so I put 14.8. I'm going to put that on the top. And I'll show you why. Actually, let's move it over space so I can put my little times. And then I'm going to have 19 on the bottom. Okay? Ting, 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 ting. This is so much quicker than watching me try to write and have a laggy mouse. Okay, so now I'm just going to do my multiplication. 9 times 8 is 72. I carry the 7 up above the 4. 9 times 4, 36, plus that 7. So it's going to give us 43. I carry that 4 up above the 1. 9 plus 4 is 13. Oops, didn't need that extra space in there. All right, so a little bit of moving stuff around. Now I'm going to go to the next line to do the 1 times everything. I'm going to put a 0 here. And 1 times anything equals itself. So the 1 times the 8, the 4, and the 1 is all going to be 148, right? So I can just write 148. And I have that 0 there. And I'm just going to move it over a little bit. Okay, so now I jokingly always tell my students, so we just take the decimal, line it up, and drop it down, right, class? No. In this case, that would work because there's only 1 decimal space. That's an addition and subtraction. You line them up and drop the decimal down. But in multiplication, you count up how many spots you have, and that's how many spots your answer is going to have. Okay, so let's add this up first. It's weird doing it backwards when it types this direction, but I'm going to have a 2. I'm going to have an 11. I'm going to carry the 1. I'm going to have an 8. And I'm going to have a 2. Okay, and I have 1 decimal space. So it's going to go right here. Boom, okay? A little bit of multiplication, no biggie. All right, let's go enter that in real quick. And some of the problems are quicker and easier than this class, but we'll get through it. And it's square meters because it's meters times meters. All right, fantastic. Let's jump to the next level. And clear. Clear. All right. So a square has a length of sides of 7.2 or 2/10, right? So it's just going to be 7. That means every side is 7.2. So I'm going to have times 7.2. And just to look a little more to satisfy the OCD in me, look a little nicer. So it's 7.2 squared, or to the second power, means times itself, okay? So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14, okay? 2 times 2 is, I just didn't look right because I know 12 times 12, right? This is 2 times 72, and yes, it is, okay. All right, so then I'm going to drop down and put a 0 over there. And then 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1 above the 7. So there's a 1 up here above 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus that 1 is 50. Okay? All right, so last part of the problem. We're going to add those together. We're going to have a 4 on the far end. 4 plus 4 is 8. 1 plus 0 is 1. And then we have the 5 there. Okay, now how many decimals did we have, guys? We have 1 decimal, 2 decimals. So my answer has to have 2 decimals. Thank you very much. So my answer is, oh, I gotta hit mouse again. The mouse is gonna be the MVP. It just takes me a while to utilize it quickly and properly, efficiently, and effectively, like Drew Brees. All right, 51 point. He's a surgeon out there on the field. All right. Thank you, good work. All right, let's clear. And I think there's a couple problems left to get to the challenge level. And this is IXL AA.2, 7th grade, area of rectangles and parallelograms, okay? And I tell you, we may just make a second video if this is taking too long to do just this one. But it's just IXL problems. All right, so we jumped up to 68. We're gonna have to represent our answer as a fraction, a whole number, or a mixed number. I have a whole number 6 and a 10.75. I'm going to change that 3/4. That's 3/4 out of a dollar. 4 quarters makes a dollar. So anytime I see fourths, I think of quarters. How many quarters make a dollar? 4. That's only 3/4. 3/4, that's going to be about 75 cents. All right. All right. Let's get the box out here. So I'm going to put the biggest number of digits on top. So it's going to be a whole number of 10.75 or 7,500. Okay, I'm going to put times, and it's just times 6. So it's really pretty easy because it's just got 1 digit on the bottom. I love it when that happens. It's quicker and easier. Okay, next line. And action. 6 times 5 is 30. I'm going to carry the 3 above the 7. 6 times 7 is 42, plus that 3 is 45. So I drop the 5. The 4 carries above the 0. 6 times 0 is nada, but that 4 is still there, so drop the 4 down. 6 then times 1 to finish is a 6. Now, how many decimal places do you see in the problem? I see 2, so there's going to be 2 decimal places in the answer. Now, on IXL, we've noticed many different nuances many times we do this. I don't know if they will accept 0.50 as an answer. I mean, let's face it, we don't need to say the 0. I can just say 5/10. I don't need to say 50 hundredths or 500 thousandths. They still equal the same thing. I'm just adding more zeros on the end. The 0 represents zip, nada, so we don't need to say it. I know it'll work if I hit 64.5. Not 100% for sure if it will, when they program all the acceptable answers, if they would have included that. So I would just go with that. And it's square yards. See what they do. Where's the answer at, fellas? Okay, so here, let's look at the instructions, guys, because I know being a man, I am instruction challenged, don't always read them. They wanted it as a fraction, as a whole number, or a mixed number. They did not say decimal. Mr. Douglas did it as a decimal. So I would have had it right just fine if I would have put 64 and 1/2. Okay, and when you put a fraction in IXL, they want you to have a space, because otherwise, if I don't have that space there, it's going to look like 641/2. Okay, and we live and learn. Okay, let's move on. So anyway, you get the idea how to do it. Read the instructions. They wanted, and that's the other thing, guys. If I just miss that, I don't go on to the next problem. IXL, one of the things we love about it is it shows you what you do, you did wrong. And you can see, or if you had a misunderstanding on the instructions, I'm going to call it a misunderstanding, okay? And you can read down here and they'll tell you everything you need to know, okay? And then you can click got it and move on. Okay, I'm going to clear because this is for instructional purposes. I mean, I occasionally make a mistake. All right, 68, we were just at 68. Let's jump up. There's 2 levels left. Which figure has a greater area? Mr. Douglas is quick to point out, somewhat frustrated with these kind of problems. I mean, I'll do them. They're math. I love math. But for students, this is really just 2 problems in one. They're making you do 2 problems. Okay? So you're going to have to come to the text box. And you could probably do it a little faster on your own. But here we go. I'm going to put 18 times 13. Because it's a parallelogram, it's base times height, okay? So the 3 times the 8 is a 24. The 2 will carry above the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, okay? And then you go to the next line, I'm going to have a 0, and then 1 times anything equals itself. So 1 times the 8 and 1 times the 1, I'm going to have 180. Let me just straighten this out a touch. All right, so I'm going to add those 2 bottom numbers together, and I'm going to get a 4 on the first line on the right side. Then 8 plus 5 is 13. I'm going to carry that 1. 1 plus 1 is a 2. How many decimal places? There is none. So that's going to be 234. Okay? Well, you know what? I don't know if I can control this. Yes. Okay, I need to make another text box for this other guy. This one is going to be a little more difficult because it's multiple. It's 3 digits instead of 14.7 instead of 2 or 1. Okay, 7 times 7, 49. Carry the 4. 7 times 4, 28 plus 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 7 times 1 is 7 plus the 3 is a 10 spot. Okay? Next line. We're going to start with a 0. We're going to have 3 lines down here. 4 times 7 is 28. Carry the 2 above the 4. 4 times 4 is 16 plus the 2 is 18. So I'm going to put a 1 above the other 1 and carry it. 4 times 1 is a 4 plus that 1 is a 5. Okay? Last line. Now we have to have 2 zeros. With each line you go down, you add another 0. 1 times anything is itself. So I'm just going to have 147 right there. Let's line them up so we can add them up. And see which one is bigger. I'm going to add the 9 in the far right. And 8 plus 2 is a 10. Carry the 1 to the 3rd spot. 8 plus 7 is 15. Plus another 1 that I carried is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 5 is 7. Plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. Now, there's 2 decimal spots, y'all. Boom. So which area is greater? This one. Oh, nice try. I got to get my mouse. Select. There we go. All right. 234 is bigger than 116. Okay. Lastly, we're going to go to the challenge level. Get up to the 90s. And let's get rid of that clear work. All right. It's the same exact thing. Little bit more nasty on the figures. But here's the one thing I would say, guys. This one's actually a little easier because I have 49.5 and 49. I mean, normally you need to be pretty exact when you're multiplying, okay? But 72 and 82 are quite a bit apart from each other. So if I just rounded this to 50 and this to 50, this one is going to be a lot larger. they're asking me which one's greater. So it's going to be that one. Okay, you could do the math and prove it. Let's see if there's anything tricky to show you. So really, guys, there is nothing tricky. You're just doing multiplication, and you're going to have some decimals and fractions in there, okay? So that's it. I think we'll go ahead and make this part 1, and we'll add a part 2 with triangles and trapezoids. And that'll go quicker and shorter, and I'll get through some more Brees pictures. Let's just go to the next picture, because I know not all of you realize this. That's a great shot of him throwing a pass, probably a touchdown. I actually can't remember where I put the pictures. There it is. You guys, you always say, when will I ever need this again? In a lot of your classes in school, that's what y'all say. Hey, man, I'm sorry you didn't realize this, but you do math the rest of your life. You're going to do math with your money, to pay your bills, to buy a car, buy a house, buy food and groceries. You don't want to get ripped off by people. And in a lot of your jobs, you're going to have to do some amount of math. Man, this guy is studying all kinds of numbers. All right, here we go. Thank you so much. Let's go on to number 2. Video number 2. And why is it not stopping? Okay, there we go. Thanks again, guys. God bless and protect you and your family. See you on video.